Today we are going to be making a tropical IPA, or India Pale Ale. So we're going to start with the grain. With the grain we are going to steep this in some hot water to extract enzymes. The enzymes will turn the starch in the grain into sugar. This right here is wort extract, so basically we're going to create some amount of wort by steeping the grain, and this will supplement that. This is oftentimes used in home brewing to speed up the process, whereas in a large-scale brewing facility, they'll use exclusively the grain. After that, we will add the hops. We've got lots of different types of hops. The earlier you add them, the more bitterness they add, and later on they'll add more flavor and aroma. After that, we'll add some fruit. We'll probably just use the peel to create some grapefruit and some orange flavor in here, but we will also get some of that from the hops themselves. And then lastly, once we have cooled all of this down, it's not hot anymore, then we will add the yeast. The yeast will turn the sugar into alcohol, which is the reason we're doing this in the first place. So, because we need to submerge large equipment fully in sanitizer water in our apartment, we've got to do it in the bathtub. So, the downside is that it may be a little bit weird to use a bathtub to sanitize. The upside is that it works. It keeps our equipment clean and sanitary. And I probably have the cleanest bathtub of any 22-year-old boy in North America. So now that we've got a clean bathtub full of water, we are going to put the recommended ratio of sanitizer, that is iodine, to water in here. And now this is a sanitary zone. No peeing in this bathroom anymore. Use the other one. Now we are going to sanitize our big boil kettle. We're making a 5-gallon recipe, but this is a 6-gallon kettle, just to make sure that we don't boil over and get our stove all dirty. So, here we go. Give it a nice wash all the way around. And this is a no rinse sanitizer, which is very nice. That means we can just shake it off, get all that moisture out, and it's ready to use. We don't need to rinse it with tap water. We will put it right here on the stove. Gas stove would probably be better, because that means that if it starts to get to where it looks like it's going to overflow, you can cut the fire off immediately and it would stop the heat. So since we don't have a gas stove, when we need to cut the heat quickly, we just move it right here. No big deal. Now we are going to add about 1.5 gallons. This is just up to your own discretion here. I add 1.5 gallons because that allows me to completely submerge the bag of grain. We'll add plenty more water later on in the recipe to get it up to 5 gallons for fermentation. So, here's where we're gonna go get it a little bit sciencey. The reason that we steep the grain like this is to extract enzymes. Without the enzymes, we can't turn the starch from the grain into sugar. We are going to steep it between 150 and 170 degrees. If you steep it at a low temperature, so basically 150 to 160, you're going to extract amylase B. Amylase B is the enzyme that's going to cut these starches into short sugar chains that can all be eaten by the yeast. So basically that will make for a less sweet beer. We are about to add the first hop. It's a Columbus hop. So adding hops at different stages of brewing will achieve different purposes. This first one will add the bitterness that you want in your IPA. The next will add flavor. After that, we'll add aroma, and lastly, we'll dry hop, which is just kind of a funny brewing way of saying we're not boiling it at all. We'll put it in the fermenter once it's totally room temperature, and that will add some extra aroma as well. And then, here's what we're ready for with the orange peel and grapefruit peel. We've decided to step it up with the levels of orange peel and grapefruit peel so that we don't have to add any essence at the end. So this is all the orange and grapefruit that's going to go into this beer we're adding right now. Now that we have our wort chilled, we've put it down to room temperature by bathing it in ice, we are going to rack it over or siphon it into our primary fermenter. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. Now we're going to take a specific gravity reading. Now this is something you've probably never heard of or learned about in science classes. But basically what this means is we are going to measure the density of the wort right now, and that will tell us how much sugar is in it. If we calculate how much sugar is in it before the fermentation process and after the fermentation process, that will tell us what the alcohol percentage is, which is very important. Okay, go ahead. All right, that is reading at a 1.063. That's pretty high. With this kind of a hydrometer reading, we are calculating that we should have about a 7% alcohol by the end of this beer fermenting. Right now we have no alcohol, we just have sugar and yeast, but by the end of this process, we'll have 7% alcohol. Now we'll let it sit for about 3 to 4 days, and then we will siphon it over again into a secondary fermenter, which is actually one of these white buckets that you can see right back here behind the primary fermenter. Okay, so like I explained earlier, fermentation is when you get the yeast and sugar and it creates alcohol and CO2 before we let all of that CO2 escape through the airlock. But now we're going to harness a little bit of that CO2 in the bottle. So what we're going to do is just add a little bit of sugar to the beer as it is right now. We're going to put it into the individual bottles, cap them so that no CO2 can escape, and that CO2 will circulate back into the beer and create that fizz that we want. All right, we're gonna crack open the citrus IPA. It smells like orange and grapefruit, which is exactly what we were intending. It's a very nice, rich, burnt orange color. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You get the sweetness of the malt and the orange right on the first sip. Then you've got the bitterness of the hop and a real strong grapefruit aftertaste. That is exactly what we were shooting for.